You need to change your drawers
change
there,
my
buddy.
drawers, yeah. Had an accident. I didn't change my drawers. Hey guys, welcome to Woodshop 101. This is episode number 157 for May 20th, 2019. That is actually my anniversary.
Happy
Woohoo! Yeah!
Anniversary, Drew. She did not kill you yet.
Not yet. It's going, though. I am Drew Short of the Rockin' H Woodshop, and I am joined today by my co-host, Jeremy Crawford of the Countryside Workshop, and our guest host, Jess from Crow Creek Designs. How is our special guest doing tonight?
Extra special?
I was.
Extra.
I think we were talking about you, right?
No, I'm not the guest.
See, you don't even know your place in this show.
You're
not a
guest
guest.
house right now.
I'm the traveling podcast co-host.
You can't even talk right, so you're definitely the special guest.
Because I haven't had anything to drink today, like a beer.
No, but I've been feeding you more espresso, so I am doing great.
Yeah, I need some espresso.
I'm sitting here in my comfortable home. I'm looking at the mountains. I am doing wonderful. Thank you, Drew.
That is good to hear. And for those of you that don't know, Jeremy has blown our budget on traveling expenses to go see Jess in person while we do this podcast for last week and this week, and our after show for that matter.
I'm moving to the home of Total Boat, so I needed to learn how to properly do epoxy.
Total Boat needs to bring me to a picnic so we can make stuff.
A picnic.
Yes, a picnic.
Picnic in the park.
A picnic in the park with Total Boat.
Oh, Oklahoma's a good place for a picnic.
Okay, there we go.
Come to Oklahoma.
But then Total Boat's not there. They're in Rhode Island.
Through that. Well, before we get started, I do want to thank our patrons, John Ramminger, Sean McHenry, Carl Mose, Neil Sims, Eric Rhoten, and Kenneth Aponte. Thank you guys very much for being supporters of the show. Keeping the lights on here is very important. If you want to become a patron of our Patreon campaign, then just head on over to patreon.com/woodshop101, and all of our patrons receive an after show twice a month as a benefit, and Jess will be one of those after shows. You can also support the show by purchasing some podcast swag. You can head over to countrysideworkshop.com/shop to find out more information about that. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating on the podcast player of your choice. It will help us reach a greater audience. So we do have a sponsor that we do want to recognize, and that is Organic Creations Woodshop. You can head over to the link that will be in the show notes. And he has done a lot of logos, including ours. Unfortunately, he hasn't designed one for Rockin' H Woodshop, but then again, I don't necessarily need it. But he did do one for Jeremy and Sam, as well as the podcast. And from what Jeremy and Sam have told me, working with them is just a great pleasure. They keep in contact with you throughout the whole process to make sure that everything that you want in your logo is going to be there. So check out that link in the description notes or show notes, and you'll learn some more information about them. So our topic was actually sent to us from a listener, and their handle looks like ohall080, and they sent us the question of, I'm building a platform bed with storage. What slides do I need to use? And it seems like drawer construction and drawer slides seem to be a common question among people that are just getting into making cabinetry and furniture for that matter. And it seems to be a kind of an enigma to some people on what they need to get. And I myself have built a platform storage bed using drawer slides, ball bearing slides for that matter. And It does take a little bit of practice to actually make your drawers to accommodate the slide tolerances and making sure that it's going to hold the weight of what you plan to put in it. And that's something you need to ask yourself is, what do you plan on using? So, Jeremy, do you have a preference on the type of slides that you mainly use in your projects?
Type of slides, yes. I don't know. I don't really have a brand preference, I don't think.
No.
But I like and I don't even know what they're called, but the side mount, usually they're the ball bearing slide mount slides on the side. I don't know what they're really called, but I would say those are usually the most durable, in my opinion. So I know I haven't done a whole lot of drawers in my woodworking career. I just haven't had the need for it. I definitely know you have, because you have like 20 million drawers in your shop, and they all have like crazy black slides on them or something. So what have you used, or what do you find that is probably the easiest?
I'm with you on the durability and just the standard preference. I tend to use the side mounts. Under mounts, I only use those if I have a need to make use of the entire space of the cabinet to make sure that the drawer goes from wall to wall. But you have to be careful with those because their weight tolerances are a little bit different, mainly just because of how they're mounted. So I typically stick with the side mounts, and I generally stick around the 100-pound mark. I think 100 pounds is a kind of an all-around weight, because most of the stuff you're going to stick in it is going to be pretty lightweight, but it's going to still hold up to the pressures of anything heavy that you might decide that you want to stick in there. And sometimes people will lean on their drawers too, especially like on a platform bed. I've caught myself a couple times leaning over and putting weight down on my drawer, and it still doesn't bother it. As far as the brand, I have worked with AccuRide on prior projects, and they're standard slides that are just slide in and they just stop, like a bump stop. Those are great. I haven't had issues with those, but their soft close, I have had plenty of issues with those. I really don't recommend those, just mainly because it seems like the soft close tends to go away and it makes it a hard, fast close. I've got some drawer slides that are in my table saw cabinet that are AccuRides, and they don't soft close anymore. They actually snap shut, and it drives me insane. And one of them is my table saw blade storage drawer, and having those things shut all of a sudden makes those blades kind of jostle around, and it really unnerves me.
Yeah, well, that the teeth hitting on each other could dull them a little bit faster, or break the carbide. So
yep.
Sounds like you need to change out your drawer slides.
I do. I have found.
You need to change your drawers there.
Yeah.
You need to change your drawers there, buddy.
Drawers, yeah. Had an accident. I didn't change my drawers. I do find that center lines are a better quality drawer slide, and I picked those up through Rockler, and I think you can get them through Woodcraft as well. I haven't investigated that, but I know that Rockler has them. But Blue Motion, if you really want to fork over the money, Blue Motion is probably the best top quality slides I can get my hands on.
Again, if you want to fork over the money.
Yeah.
I like money for forking over money.
No, I'm not forking.
That's not what you said. You said fork over money.
Yes, if you're going to fork over the money. That's all I heard. Yeah, exactly. Just want the money. What drawer slides have you used?
I've used a lot, and making dressers, which I did for a long time, was my least favorite thing on the planet to do. It really is. After you make hundreds of them.
Well, I mean, we didn't ask what you like to do and not like to do. We asked what kind of drawer slides you use.
It ties in with the drawer slides because you have to be, you do need to be a little bit picky with which ones you're using, especially if you're making stuff for kids. Like, you don't want the ones that are going to slam on their fingers. I don't know the brands, but they're just ones that I picked up at Home Depot. So they just slide nice. I do like the side mount ones. Yeah. And then I think doesn't Craig have a new thing?
Yeah, no.
Thingy. We're going to use thingy, which is my favorite word.
Thingy.
That helps align drawer slides properly.
Yeah, so they do. They have. I think they have 2 different jigs that help do that. And I have it. I haven't used it. I just haven't have the need for it because the last set of drawer slides that I had to do was on a floating drawer. I know Rockler makes a pretty cool one.
Yep. And that's the one I have. It's in their Jigget line, and it's basically a clamp. You put the slide with the drawer side facing the jig, and then it just kind of clamps it in place with a little slide, and it automatically has the offset whenever you go to stick it in the cabinet, and you can just screw it in place through the jig.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I don't know about that one. I don't know about the ones from Craig either, just because I haven't used them. Most of them are designed to be used with like a face frame cabinet. And I don't know if you can use those with the frameless cabinet. So if you're just using, like, building drawers for the shop or something, and you just have the plywood sides, So I don't.
Mine are face frameless. They're just the cabinet sides, and that Jigget one works really good. But
so the one thing I would say you need to make sure that you're paying attention to is if you're going to use a set of slides, make sure you get all the same slides for that project. Don't just say, Home Depot only had 3 sets. I need 4, so I'll buy 3 from here. I'll go to Lowe's and buy 1 set. Because the tolerances are going to be a little bit different, even though they may physically look exactly the same. But the tolerances may be different, right? Most of them are about a 1/2 inch between the drawer side and the cabinet side. But it may vary a 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch. And that's just enough to have to put pressure on the drawer slide and kind of pull it in, and then it doesn't slide near as easy. And it always feels like it's grinding on itself. So I would, if you need multiple sets, make sure you're getting them from the same manufacturer.
Yeah, so. And that's what you touched on there. I was going to talk about too, is the slide tolerances by themselves, not necessarily the tolerance that you have to accommodate for just to get the slide in there, but each slide also has its own set of tolerances. That if your drawer is too narrow or too wide, the drawer slide is not going to work very well. And it typically has anywhere between a 64th to a 32nd tolerance. So if your drawer is a little too narrow, then whenever you go to slide it in onto the slide itself, it's not going to feed properly, and you take a risk on bending some of the aluminum tracks that are in there and dislodging the ball bearings. And if you do get it in there, it's not going to slide. It'll actually kind of bind. So if you're not pushing the drawer evenly on both sides, it's actually going to bind and feel real loose inside your cabinet. On the flip side, like Jeremy said, if it's too tight, then it's going to bind and not want to come out or go in. And trying to feed it up onto the slides too, like I said, you take a risk on bending the metal. So you really have to take into consideration, like you said, making sure that you use all the same slides from the same manufacturer for the entire project. And then make sure that whenever you make your drawers, especially if you're using plywood, each maker of plywood has a different size tolerance. So if you construct this drawer and you're using 3/4 of an inch as a reference point, or a 1/2 inch as a reference point, especially if the plywood's not 3/4 of an inch thick or a 1/2 inch thick, you could make your drawer too narrow or too wide. So you have to be real careful in what you're making your drawers out of to accommodate those slides properly.
Yeah. Do either one of you have experience with the? I know we were talking about earlier, the ones that mount on the little corner. Usually they come in like white or almond or black. They have the little wheel that goes in the back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all have any experience with those?
Experience as in using them on personal things that I have made? No. But all of my cabinetry in my house, because it was made in '79, yes. I mean, that's typically what they use as cost cutter type of hardware, and it's okay, but I wouldn't prefer to use it on something that I would make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they make them enough to withstand heavy enough weights. But those ones are very difficult, because if they're not like perfectly aligned, the wheel's gonna want to pop off, and that's the biggest issue I've always had with them is maybe the drawer opening is slightly larger than what it was supposed to be, or the drawer is slightly smaller than what it's supposed to be, and you barely just got that wheel on there. Well, if you rack that drawer a little bit, then the little wheel wants to fall off the track, and now you're worried about trying to get a jammed drawer out, and you're yanking on the front, and then you break the front, and now you got more issues. So investing in the right slide, whether it be spend $25 or $30 or whatever per set with Centerline or Bloom, or spending $6 a set or $10 a set from Home Depot, those side mounts are just a little bit better quality than those little corner mount ones. So,
it was one other thing. A lot of people I get questions about how to mount their slides, whether it needs to be in the center of the drawer, the top of the drawer, bottom of the drawer. And to be honest, in my opinion, that's really your preference. I go for ease of installation, so I typically mount mine at the bottom of the drawer. I take the slide apart and I put the skinny part just even with the bottom of the drawer and screw it down, and it makes it easy to figure out where to locate my other half of the slide. And I typically start, like on my bottom drawer, I'll just drop it to the very bottom of the cabinet because it's already going to have about a 3/8 lip, maybe a quarter, from the bottom of the drawer to the bottom of the cabinet. So I've got that automatic clearance that I don't have to even worry about just by dropping the slide to the bottom of the cabinet. Yeah. And then I can put, if I'm wanting tight tolerances, then I'll put a sheet of plywood or a spacer, whatever it is, on top of that drawer that I just installed, and then drop the next slide down on top of that. And it gives me an automatic lip above that, as well as the space of the plywood that I just laid on top. So it makes for a really quick installation if you can just find reference points like that to install your drawers. So I don't know how you install them, but that's my preference.
How do you do them, Jess?
I like the way that Drew does them. I always install them at the bottom, and I have used those little.
Yeah, I'm the only one that does anything different.
Well, yeah, that's because you're.
And I make it harder on myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, he's right, and plus, I think it aesthetically looks better doing it that way. And I have used the ones with the little rolly ball things on them, and they're great for like a little 5-year-old's toy chest style dresser. If you're trying to build something for $20-$30, they work great for that. But other than that, they have very limited use.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I like doing it on those bottom ones. Put your measurements in and go. It's easy.
Yeah. So I've done. In fact, I think the only way I've ever done was mounting them in the center of the drawer. But that's usually, now I'm thinking about it, that's usually a whole lot harder, I think, especially than what you just
Well, you've got tolerances
explained.
from both sides, and let's say that your build
like if you're not getting it just right in the center on both sides, now your drawer's like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you've got two things to measure. One, where the slide goes, and two, where the bottom of your drawer is at.
Yep.
But if you're installing it on the bottom of the drawer, you're already taking care of that measurement. And the extra lip that the big part of the slide accommodates takes care of your clearance. So all you got to do is just find out where the bottom of the drawer goes, and whoop, that's where you mount it.
I'm a big subscriber to the KISS method.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Yeah.
We need to get you a shirt. You need it. Countryside Workshop KISS. Believe
KISS,
it.
hashtag KISS method.
Hashtag KISS method.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen them there. I just never thought about putting them there. But it does seem a whole lot easier. So,
if you want to get a good visual on what I'm talking about, whenever I installed my drawers for my bathroom cabinet, I took the video camera outside into my assembly table and showed how those slides were installed on the assembly table, and showed how the clearances worked and how I go about attaching them to make it super simple. So I can leave a link for the show notes for that if you guys want to check that out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have anything else for drawer slides? If not, we can do contact info and get out of here and go do an after show.
Think I've touched on everything I'm talking about. Jess?
I think I'm good. Jeremy's doing it the wrong way, so we just educated him, and I'm
exactly.
happy now.
Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing, so.
As long as we got that cleared up.
Yeah, I'm glad. We'll learn a whole lot.
Aren't you so glad that you have me on the
I've
show?
learned so much since I've been here. My woodworking career has now changed.
Right? The unfollow button is probably going to happen.
I quit and am going to knitting.
Yeah, beating.
Yeah, no, not beating. I'm going to beating.
Beating. So, Jess, for the listeners that haven't listened to last week's episode, if they're just now catching you this episode, how can they get in contact with you if they want to?
So, TikTok, I remember TikTok this time. TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook business pages, as well as YouTube, I believe, is all
how
under...
do they get in contact with you on TikTok? Is there
there's a message button on there.
Oh, really?
Yes, there is. There's a little... See?
Not familiar with TikTok.
I'm going to go send you a message on TikTok.
It's under Crow Creek Designs with an S, or you can reach me at Jess Crow on Facebook, and I think that even works on Instagram, or crowcreekdesignsak.com.
Excellent.
As in Alaska.
As in Alaska. Not also known as. Missing the A there, but yeah.
Right. It's not Arkansas. It's Alaska.
No,
It's not Texas, so.
It doesn't. Thank goodness. God bless Texas.
So if you guys are wanting to get in contact with Jeremy, Sam, or myself, you can reach us through our respective websites, which is countrysideworkshop.com, samryandesigns.com, and rhwoodshop.com. We're all active on Instagram. I myself am very active on YouTube. So if you want to get in contact with us individually, that's the way to go about doing it. However, if you want to get in contact with the podcast itself for all three of us, the email address for that is kickback@woodshop101podcast.com. Don't forget, we have a voice memo app that you can use on your cell phone to send us a voicemail or kickback or how do you do kind of thing, and you can send it to that email. How do you do? How do you do? And if you want to call the number, we do have a phone number you can dial, which is 409-234-3959. Once again, that number is 409-234-3959. And if you act now, we will put you on air with your comments, tips, suggestions, or how'd you do's. And we greatly appreciate you guys listening. How'd you do?
I just want to offer him some Crystal Light.
Want some Crystal Light, boy?
But we do want to thank you guys for listening in on the podcast. We hope that you guys are getting some really good information, especially from our special guest, Jess, who we have had on the show for the past 2 weeks. And we do want to thank you for being on. We have had a blast having you here. And if you are a patron, be sure and tune in to the after show that's coming up. Jess will be a part of that. So, Jess, thank you again. I hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you guys very much for having me. It is. I
didn't have an option. I was here.
Well, yeah. I mean, thank you, Drew, for having me, and your extra special co-host should be thanking me for having.
I'd say thank you for putting up with Jeremy.
Thank you for teaching me
how to make breakfast.
Yeah, she has made me some pretty awesome breakfast. I'll give her that. And I'm addicted to Snickers coffee.
Don't spoil him too much. He'll be difficult to live with Kendra. I'm sure she won't want to have him back.
I'm actually looking forward to him going home and having Snickers mocha espresso withdrawals.
No, I'm going to find out the recipe, and I'm going to have my local coffee shop make it. Okay. When I say my local coffee shop, we're talking about Starbucks.
Local coffee shop.
Right.
That's because I don't have a local coffee shop.
You can find one.
I'm moving. I don't want to find one.
Well, from Jeremy, Sam, who is not here, Jess, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. Please be safe in your shops. We will talk to you on the after show. So, 1, 2, 3. Boom!